This is a bracket or a brace, and I'm building these to extend the roof of the shed. I want to extend the roof of the shed by about 2 feet, which will give me a little bit of sheltered storage space for tools, rakes and shovels and things like that. And it will also keep the water a little further away from the exterior wall of the shed. Typically, you'll see sheds kind of rot out from the bottom up because the water falls on the ground, bounces into the siding, and they tend to rot out that way. So by extending the roof, that should be avoided. So to make these brackets, the first thing I did was find the angle of the existing roof, and that turned out to be about 7 degrees, and I cut a 7-degree angle on one side of each 2x4, and then I set up a stop block and I cut all the 2x4s to the exact length with a 90-degree angle on one side and a 7-degree angle on the other. I then decided to get rid of the round over and true the 2x4s up so they're exactly 3 inches. And I did that because it's just easier to build with nice straight material, and I think it looks a little bit nicer getting rid of the round over that comes on a 2x4. So now that I've got all of my parts here, you can see I've built this bracket, or I've halfway built this bracket. We'll take 2 pieces and we'll go ahead and build another one. To get started on the brackets, I'm going to attach the 2 2x4s together with a 3-inch nail using the framing nailer. And I've clamped a stop to my work table, and that will keep the 2x4 from kicking away from the power of the gun. To avoid making any mistakes when I'm assembling the brackets, I've taped out where the parts should be when they're assembled. When I assemble the brackets, you can see that this end of the 2x4 is deaded out into the stop. I'll make sure that I'm flush on the top and the back. Keep my fingers clear, wear eye protection, and fire away. That looks pretty good, and one more nail. Okay, so now that I've got all of my L brackets made, I'll lay the bracket on the table, making sure that it stays inside the diagram that I drew on the table to make sure that I don't spread the angle of the bracket when I add the brace. I'll put the brace right where I want it, and I'll tack it in place with an 1¼ inch nail and the nail gun. That'll just keep the angle from opening when I now use a 3-inch deck screw, and I'll pre-drill and countersink first. The angle on the braces that I'm adding are just a little bit less than 45 degrees, maybe closer to a 42-degree angle. I'm using the miter saw to create a chamfer at the ends of the bracket for a decorative edge. Okay, so after making all of the brackets, this happens to be an extra one. I guess I made one too many. Always better to make one too many than not enough, especially when you start to install them. But to install the brackets, I used 2 3-inch deck screws at the bottom part of the bracket, making sure the bracket was nice and plumb. And then I came back with the pre-drill and countersink and added a 3rd screw, this time a 4-inch deck screw, at the top of the bracket. So with the 3 screws going into the stud in the wall and the sheathing getting screwed down to the bracket, it definitely makes for a very strong roof support. And I think it's going to do a great job of keeping the water off the side of the shed, and also give me some nice storage for some of my yard tools like my rakes and shovels. And I'll probably end up making some kind of racks sometime in the future, so I can keep all of my yard equipment nice and organized. I do plan to put a corrugated metal roof on the shed. I'm not quite sure how to do that, so I have to go to school on YouTube and watch a few videos. I did go ahead and throw tar paper on the roof right away just because we had rain in the forecast, and of course it's pouring out right now. So that's all for now. As always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.